watching The Source with Ezra Levant.
Hey, welcome back to the show. You know, for those of you who've been watching The Source, you know that for 6 months we've been having Vivian Krause on the show. She's our environmental forensic detective tracking who is paying the anti-oil sands, anti-fisheries lobbyists in Canada. Well, guess what? About a week ago, Prime Minister Harper took notice of her work. Look at his clip to Global TV about the very subject. Check this out.
I think we'll see significant American interests try and line up against the Northern Gateway project precisely because it's not in the interest of the United States, it's in the interest of Canada.
Could they do anything to stop it?
Well, they'll funnel money through environmental groups and others to try and slow it down, but as I say, we'll make sure that the best interests of Canada are protected.
Vivian Krause joins us now from Vancouver. Hey, Vivian, congratulations. Every word out of his mouth came from your research. There's been no one else in Canada that has dug up what you have dug up. And look, the PM's quoting you. What do you make of that?
Well, actually, what the Prime Minister said came from U.S. tax returns. I think that's one of the key points here, is that we wouldn't know any of this if we hadn't looked in the tax returns of the United States. So I think there's a key message here that if the CRA required the same levels of disclosure as the IRS, then this information would be available in Canada, which I think would be good.
That's a very good observation. I mean, our own tax department has not disclosed what the U.S. IRS has, and they've disclosed it only because you managed to dig it up and bring it to people's attention. And what do you make of that? I mean, I have in my hand an article you wrote for the Financial Post a year ago, and you point out that in 2008, Tides Canada paid $27.3 million in a single grant to 2 First Nations to basically block the oil sands, especially this Northern Gateway pipeline. This is the Nuksalk and Lac Kw'alaams First Nations. What do you make of this? I mean, now we're seeing the fruits of their huge spending. Should we be concerned about our Canadian sovereignty?
Yes, I think we should. And it looks to me like there's a plan here. And in fact, Tides Canada was paid $70,000 to develop, and I quote, a strategic plan to address the oil and gas development in British Columbia. That's what the Hewlett Foundation reported to the IRS. Now that was back in 2004 that Tides Canada got that $70,000 to develop the plan. Since then, the Hewlett Foundation has poured $26 million into projects that specifically address the oil and gas industry in our country. So I think the question is, what's the plan? What does that plan involve? Does it involve funding a large number of environmental groups to campaign in concert against Alberta Oil? Does it involve funding particular scientists or particular politicians or a particular political party? Does it involve making huge payments to First Nations, such as that one particular grant for $27.3 million? I think it's fair to ask Tides Canada, what's the plan that they were paid by an American foundation to develop?
Now, you've been writing about these things for years, but sometimes you've been a voice in the wilderness. Has Tides Canada ever revealed to you what their plan is, or do they say it's secret?
They have not answered my correspondence, no.
You know, it's a secret, but I think we can pretty much see what it is. Spend tens of millions of dollars to stop the oil sands. Do you think the Northern Gateway pipeline has a chance? I mean, we saw one hereditary chief come out in favor of the pipeline. Enbridge did a deal with him, but almost immediately other Aboriginal people from his same band denounced him, saying, oh, he doesn't have the right to do this. We saw a bunch of other chiefs saying, no way in hell we're going to let this pipeline through. How do you think it's going to end? Do you think that Canada has the political and legal and business will to make this pipe go through? Or do you think the big American billionaires have got this thing sewn up?
Well, when it comes to important high-stakes decisions like this and about how we use our public resources in Canada, every Canadian has a right to have a say. And the problem I see with this American money, it's not that anyone has been bought and paid for. The strong sense of importance of protect the environment has been in British Columbia in particular long before the American money ever arrived. But here's the thing. All this American money is only going to one side of the issue. And so it's skewing the public debate, really, because people on one side of the issue have tens of millions of dollars to get their point across, to put their views in the media, and perhaps people on the other side of the issue often, in fact, are from the smaller rural communities. They're the voices who are being drowned out by these city-based environmental groups who are tapping into the deep pockets of foreign foundations.
You're so right.
So I think that's really the issue. It's how public debate is being skewed here. And that's why big money, whether it's from a corporation or an industry or a foundation, particularly if it's foreign, needs to be out in the open.
You're so right. And I think this debate should be by Canadians, for Canadians. I think the foreigners should butt out. Look, Vivian, we only have about a minute left. Tell me, you've been following David Suzuki, switching gears here a little bit. David Suzuki has been saying, give me money or Santa gets it. The North Pole is melting. You've got a little bit of news. We only have less than a minute, but tell me your news about how David Suzuki is using the money he gets in this project.
Well, you know, there's been I guess the foundation's taken a bit of heat over this campaign to save Santa from global warming. But I think the real issue is how the David Suzuki Foundation is spending money. So actually I took a look, and what I found is that for last year, the David Suzuki Foundation reported to the CRA that they had taken in $10.6 million. But of that, only $7.4 million was actually spent. And of that, only $4.2 million was spent on charitable programs. So less than 40% of the money that came in was spent on charitable programs. Now, the big expenditure at the David Suzuki Foundation is the payroll, which in fact has gone from about $500,000 in 2003 to $5.5 million in 2009.
Huh, it's
from
not
$500,000 to $5 million. So no wonder they're having to do fundraising.
Amazing. Thank you. You folks, this is the only place you're going to get unbiased financial news about the anti-industry activists on the left. Hey, Vivian Krause, thanks for being here again.